Part 1, Question 3, Article 5, whether God is contained in a genus. Just how unique is God? Spoiler alert, utterly, infinitely unique. But first, a quick digression into Aristotle's logic. Any species can be defined by two things, a genus and a specific difference. A genus is a category describing what type of thing we're talking about. The specific difference or differentia defines how that thing is different from everything else in that category. Man is the rational animal. Genus, animal. Specific difference, rational. Put them together and you have a definition. A triangle is a plane figure, that's the genus, with three straight sides, that's the specific difference. A nickel is a coin worth 5 cents. If you're talking about a nickel, somebody's never heard that word before, start with, okay, it's a coin. All right, now I know what type of thing you're talking about, worth 5 cents. So the question is whether God is contained in any possible genus, any possible category. God is not an animal, a plane figure, or a coin. So can God fit into any category? I mean, we'll just think about it, but not too hard because it's impossible. And Thomas cites no other authority, but says, quote, in the mind, genus is prior to what it contains. But nothing is prior to God, either really or mentally. Therefore, God is not in any genus. Again, don't just call God the first cause, but take that seriously. If there were no animals, man could not exist. If there were no plane figures, triangles could not exist. If there were no coins, nickels could not exist. But God does not fit into any category because God does not rely on any pre-existing category. But wait a minute. Doesn't existing mean subsisting? And subsisting means you are a substance, something with matter and form, therefore something with the genus. It's convoluted here, objection 1, but we get to a key point. What about the category everything that exists? Wouldn't that category have to include God? If God exists and then everything exists as a category, wouldn't God need to be in that category? Also, God is the measure of all things. Thomas continues, quote, nothing can be measured save by something in its own genus, as length is measured by length and number by number. As a response, Thomas narrows in on that issue from objection 1. Quote, if God were in any genus, it would be the genus being. After all, the essence of God is existence. He continues, quote, but the philosopher has shown, this is Metaphysics Book 3, which is worth reading, that being cannot be a genus, for every genus has a difference distinct from its generic essence. That takes a little unpacking, but a genus limits the discussion, and then the specific difference identifies one member in that genus, and in so doing, it says which of the members of that genus we are not talking about. If you're talking about humans, you're not talking about horses. They're not rational. If you're talking about triangles, you are not talking about squares because they don't have three straight sides. So let's try this one more time. If your genus is plane figures, your specific difference could be three-sided or four-sided. It can't be plane figures. If your genus is existence, your specific difference can't exist. Case closed. Being cannot be a genus. You cannot narrow it with an is not. There is no is not in the category is, because the category is things that are. I must admit I struggled with this one, but when I finally saw it, I'm not saying I'm explaining it very well, but when I finally saw it, it resonated. Reply to objection 1. Substance exists in some way with some limits. With God, there is no need to finish that sentence, however. You don't say God is blank. God is enough. Reply to objection 2. Quote, God is not a measure proportionate to anything. Still, he is called the measure of all things in the sense of everything has being only according as it resembles him. A thing can be measured based on to the extent to which it exists. It must be actual to be measured. Potential things cannot be measured, and God is pure actuality. God is not one object among others, things that exist in the universe, because that genus is no good. And because that's the only possible genus that could have worked for God, no, God is not contained in any genus.